Ooh boy, this one's gonna be a bit of a doozy. I should get this out of the way right now. This is by no means a terrible game. I don't hate it, but I don't really love it either. There was a lot of the time playing this game I spent thinking to myself, I really wish I was playing Arceus right now. But there is good to be found here, and I can't stress that enough because online discourse over this game has been some of the worst I've ever seen in the Pokemon community. And I was there for Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet. Believe me, that was a nightmare in and of itself. So again, I'm going to preface this one last time. This is my opinion, and it's probably not even correct. I'm probably going to say some incredibly stupid things in this video that you definitely don't agree with. But yeah, it's time to listen to an unemployed 20-something-year-old bitch about Pokemon. Everybody's favorite. Okay, right out the gates. The graphics are pretty doo-doo ass, I can't lie. But are you really surprised at this point? For me, I'm just at the state of mind where I expect a Pokemon game to look like it belongs on the PlayStation 1 or even 2. And to an extent, I can excuse this. I'm not one of the people who thinks a game's graphics is end-all be-all. As long as it runs smoothly, which, in my time of playing, I didn't have very many, if any, issues at all. I'm sure some exist, but for me, playing on Switch 2, I didn't really experience many issues playing ZA performance-wise. And it's sure as hell not as bad as Scarlet and Violet at release, because, my god, I don't know how they thought that was okay to release in the state they did. Okay, that is my obligatory dig at the Scarlet and Violet graphics. Done. So, yeah, the graphics are pretty much what you'd expect from a modern Pokemon game, and to an extent, again, I'm one of the people that can excuse this, because as long as the game performs well, I don't really care to an extent about the graphics, as long as it runs smoothly. Speaking of smoothly, this is my smooth transition into talking about the characters of this game. Abracadabra video transition. I've seen some people talk about how amazing the rival is in this game, and maybe I'm doing it wrong because I got Tawny, I didn't get Urbane as my rival. I'm sorry, I don't really see it. For me, Tawny just comes off as the generic, wow, I'm super upbeat and I need to help everyone around me without thinking about the consequences of the situation I'm getting myself into type character. To the point where she takes out a massive loan from the Rust Syndicate. It has the word Syndicate right in the name. I don't know how that didn't send off some red flags. And it's just kind of played off like, oh, Tawny, you got yourself into another wacky misadventure scenario that we have to bail you out of. And again, I'm sorry, because I'm sure so many of you probably like Tawny, but for me, stuff like that doesn't make me find her endearing. That makes me think she's kind of stupid. We also got, not Tierno. I mean, Tierno was barely even a character in and of himself. I think it's implied somewhere that this is his sister, but that's kind of all I got out of her. Her whole thing is that she likes dancing, and another super important beat that I noticed in the story, I say that in quotations, she doesn't want to evolve her Staryu into Starmie because it wouldn't be as cute. Yeah, that's all I got from this one. Moving on. So, Naveen is a bit of an interesting one, because I can't lie, at the beginning of this game, he might have been one of my least favorite characters. He was just the quiet kid that sat in the corner bitching and moaning about how he didn't even want to be here. But by the end of the game, he might have been one of my favorite trainers introduced in this whole game, and he was definitely my favorite team member of your little gang you got going on in the story. He also gets constantly exhausted at Tawny's little shenanigans, which is very relatable because, as I already established, I don't like Tawny that much, so more points for Naveen. And it turns out he's got some more to his character, like he's this little indie fashion designer, and at some point, when you get a new outfit, the popular celebrity fashion model character says, oh, I need to watch out, there's a designer named Naveen out there who's actually some serious competition. And I thought that was cool because it shows, hey, he's got what it takes to make a name for himself. And it was also neat seeing him grow throughout the story and slowly get stronger along with not Tierno there and get Mega Evolution for themselves as the story progressed. We got the guy from the It's Been 3,000 Years meme here, and AZ, or Az, I honestly don't know which way you're supposed to pronounce it, but He's pretty good in this game. I always liked it whenever he was on screen, serving as the voice of reason for your little group. And I can't lie, the ending, it actually got me. Like, I wasn't expecting them to do what they did with him at the end. We also got L from L, this mysterious observer character, watching you from the background and tagging along with Zygarde to help progress the plot. And on an unrelated note, has anyone seen or heard from Lysander? It's been a while. I don't know what happened to that guy. There are some other trainers I figure I'd go over a little bit here, like, you know, the electric type trainer you face in the story is yet another streamer slash influencer, right after we had Ayano. Although in defense of Canary, you actually see her progress and get to know her more as a character throughout this story, which instantly makes her stomp Ayano in terms of being an actual character, so she gets a pass. And then you also got Jacinth, I honestly don't really know how to pronounce her name. I'm noticing a trend here of me not knowing how the hell to say these characters' names. But she may very well have the best design out of any character in this whole game. And, whew, boy oh boy, I really hope people on social media are having civil discussions about her design. That was sarcasm. We all know they're not. We also got Jacinth's maid, Laban, and she has my favorite personality in the game because whenever she's around her boss, she acts all proper and fancy, but as soon as she's left to her own devices, boom, battle-crazed maniac who specializes in dragon types, and that's reflective in her design because, you know, you got her wearing the maid outfit, but then you have her looking similar to other dragon-type trainers. I kind of get reminded of Claire when I look at her. And with the maid outfit, you almost got a bit of a dragon maid thing going on. You got the Rust Syndicate with Felipe and Corbu, and these guys are pretty cool characters on their own. And Corbu even actually has some interesting ties to Lysander in that Lysander kind of helped him get his life on track and become the boss of the Syndicate that he is today. Although, the Rust Syndicate kind of contributes to one of my biggest gripes with this game, but we'll get there when we talk about the really negative stuff in this game. Ivor is another standout in that this guy is funny as hell. His whole personality is basically just justice and muscles, getting some Street Fighter V Zangief vibes, which is really funny to me. And at some point, there's a segment where you're working together with him to find an area in the sewers. You come across a locked gate, and his solution to opening it is to break it down with his bare hands, which that made me audibly laugh. Like, I laughed out loud seeing that, and yeah, I don't really have many notes for Ivor. He's just a really funny character, and on top of that, he uses one of the best new megas because, God, it is so stupid looking and adorable at the same time. I love it. We'll get there when we do the mega speed round. You've also got Grisham and Grizel, who, along with Mabel, the scientist of this game, these guys are actually former Team Flare members, and I honestly think that's pretty interesting because their whole thing throughout the story is that they're trying to pick their lives back up after the events of X and Y, and Team Flare being disbanded 5 years ago from the time ZA takes place, which I actually really like this plot point because it shows, like, yeah, the people who are part of Team Flare are facing massive consequences for their actions, but some of them, like these three, are actively trying to make a change in their lives and change and become better people. I thought that was really well done. I guess now's as good a time as any to do a direct comparison to Arceus, since these two games now share the Legends moniker, and I guess Legends is becoming its own sub-series, which I'm all for, because if Arceus is anything to go off of, the Legends games have infinite potential, which ZA struggled to match admittedly, but that's for later. Let's start the Arceus comparison. Obviously the most important thing, to me at least, is the catching system, which, dear God, this is one of the greatest things Pokemon has ever done. If this was in a mainline game, I would go squee. They also kept the movement system from Arceus, where since wild Pokemon can damage you, you've got your little dodge roll to try and help you get out of tough situations. And yeah, that's about where all the positive comparisons to Arceus end and the negatives start to arise. Which, given that I'm a grown man in my 20s complaining about Pokemon, are you really surprised? Here we go. So I'm not done with the Arceus comparisons yet, but these ones are a lot more negative. For starters, the ride Pokemon, stuff like Weirdeer and Hisuian Braviary, you know, those things that were super great and useful for traversal, completely gone, which is bizarre because I remember in X and Y there were multiple segments with ride Pokemon like Mamoswine, I think Rhydon was one, I know Go-Goat was one, and honestly having a Go-Goat to zoom between the streets of Lumiose, that would have been super useful because even when your character is running, you move like a slug. It's just not fun, man, and there's not even enough water in this map to justify a water traversal, which is weird. And I've seen some people try to defend this, saying, oh, well, the map in ZA is much smaller than Arceus, which, yeah, it is really, really small compared to Arceus. Arceus had multiple, massive, wide-open landscapes full of all sorts of terrain and challenges to navigate. ZA, boring-ass city with some wild zones that very slightly change the terrain, like, oh, now there's some dirt instead of concrete, oh, there's some water that you can't navigate and you have to walk around, which is super annoying. Because that's fun game design. There's also the removal of the throwable items like the sticky webs and mud balls, which were really useful for stunning wild Pokemon to try and catch them or get higher level Pokemon off your ass when they're chasing you, because they did bring back alphas in this game, which I do like. I love the idea of alpha Pokemon. But they're similar in Arceus in that unless you have a way to get away from them super quickly, they do not leave you alone, and if you're being chased by an alpha that's too high level for you to defeat in ZA, there's really nothing you can do outside of just running for your life. In Arceus, you could at least hide in bushes or throw a mud ball or sticky web at them to stun them. ZA basically has none of that. They brought back the crouch for stealth, but they didn't bring back anything like a bush or some terrain to hide in or behind to help conceal yourself from wild Pokemon. Honestly, there's just a lot in this game that's a big mess compared to Arceus. So this is where the Arceus comparisons end, but don't worry, I'm still going to be a negative little bitch about this game. The story. Overall, I'd actually argue this is a pretty decent story, but my biggest gripe with this story, there is not a single real antagonist. Like, they set the Rust Syndicate up to be these intimidating mafia goons who are going to try and put your Hotel Z out of business because Tawny was an idiot and took out the loan that she clearly couldn't pay. But by the end of their chapter, Corbu turns out to be a pretty cool dude. The Rust Syndicate just cares about keeping Lumiose safe for its residents. And Corbu even gives Tawny the $100,000 loan she took out as a tip for staying in the hotel, which Felipe just happens to show up and be like, hey, Tawny, now would be a really good time to pay off your debt. And I'm sorry, like, I don't have anything against Corbu and Felipe as characters, but I really would have preferred if there was at least one real antagonist in this game. That part just kind of bothers me. Also, the rogue mega fights, and I know I said I was going to be bitching and be negative, but these were super fun. I loved all of them except Mega Bayonet. That one sucks, and if you played it, you probably agree. But the point is, the Mega Pokemon fights are super fun. Each one has a unique mid-fight attack where something crazy happens, and all of them are super fun. I remember ones like Tyranitar basically put up a sandstorm around itself, so if your Pokemon got too close, you were constantly taking chip damage. It required a lot more strategy, and all of them, outside of Bayonet, were super fun. My problem here is that there's no way to refight any of them. And in the post-game, to catch Yveltal, you need to do a quest where you refight 3 of them using VR technology. Vinny even goes, hey, we recreated the rogue mega fights you experienced using VR technology, and these 3 fights are level scaled. They're in the 60s or 70s, which you should be by the end of the game. This was really cool, but it also begs the question, if you could do this for these 3, why is there not an option to refight every other rogue mega? And hell, go the extra mile. Pokemon like Charizard and Blastoise, they didn't get rogue mega battles, but I'm sure they probably could have thought up of a little gimmick for one to justify making it. Make that a post-game reward. You can refight the rogue mega Pokemon, and some new rogue battles open up. Like, I'm pretty sure Garchomp, Blastoise, Electros, Pokemon like them, they just didn't get rogue mega battles, and I'm a little disappointed by that, honestly. I've also got a little bit to talk about with the battle system in this game, so editor, if you please, wait, no, that's me, editing me, add a transition to the next scene, please. Okay, so the big thing, like the gimmick of ZA is the ZA Royale, in which you climb the ranks by battling other trainers and doing challenge matches. This is where trainers like Canary and Ivor come into the story, and that they're your obstacles to ranking up and climbing your way to rank A, in which the big corpo that Vinny works for, I think the CEO, what the hell's her name? Jet, they're all like, hey, yeah, if you get to the top rank, we'll grant you a wish within our power. That's pretty cool. I will say, though, getting this out of the way right now, I've seen so many people bitching and moaning online about it, about a segment in which you rise from rank V to F. Yeah, on paper, that's kind of annoying because that's knocking out a majority of what you're supposed to be doing with the ZA Royale, but in the post-game, there's actually a certain Megastone locked behind completing 15 reward battles, which are essentially the rank-up battles. And if you pay attention, you skip roughly 15 tiers when you jump from V to F, so technically, they're all still here, they're just in the post-game, so please, for the love of God, shut up about that. It's really not that big a deal. But the battles themselves in this game are pretty fun, and they actually have a pretty funny gimmick in that if you sneak up on an enemy trainer and they don't spot you, you can have your Pokemon run over and attack theirs, which stuns them and lets them get in another hit. And it's really funny sometimes because the enemy Pokemon will be staring right at you and there's nothing they can do because their trainer just isn't facing you. But there's also the issue that enemy detection is a bit finicky. Like, there will be multiple times where you're attacking an enemy Pokemon, like your mid-attack animation, it's about to come out and hit them, and the trainer turns around and spots you, and then your Pokemon's stunned, which is annoying. But then there's also times where you get spotted and yet you don't get stunned. It's honestly a little finicky, and I'm kind of confused about the whole thing, but the point I'm at right now, most of my Pokemon are pretty much level 100, so I can pretty much just destroy everything in my path. It's honestly not that big a deal to me. We also got to talk about the issue of the Pokemon AI being absolutely brain dead. Like, my god, it's pretty bad. So in ZA, when you use certain moves, the Pokemon have to move to a specific spot on the battlefield to use them, and this is indicated by this little blue circle that they walk over and stand in, then the animation triggers. If you're battling in something like an alleyway, a lot of the time, your little blue circle marker thing is going to spawn under a bench or even clipping inside the wall, and your Pokemon is just going to sit there and try to walk into that frame while they're constantly being attacked, and eventually your Pokemon is like, oh, well, shoot, man, I can't reach it, I'll just do the attack from here. And honestly, that's just really poor design in my opinion. I feel like they easily could have made a workaround of this. But nothing is more annoying than the situation with certain special moves. There's an issue in this game where if an enemy Pokemon is behind a bench or at an incline and moves will pass through like a staircase or something to hit them, certain moves will pass through and others won't. I've seen instances of moves like Flamethrower passing right through a bench and torching the enemy Pokemon on the other side when moves like Shadow Ball or Energy Ball just disperse upon hitting the obstacle. And I can get why physical moves have this issue. Like, obviously, if my Lucario uses extreme speed and hits a bench, it's not going to make contact with the enemy. But for my Camerupt to be able to use Flamethrower and cut through a bench, but my Gardevoir using Energy Ball can't, I feel like this is really poor design, and they need to go back in and implement an all or nothing type thing. Like, you can't make certain special moves have better priority, I guess is the right word, than others. This either needs to be an all or nothing. Like, all moves can pass through them, or none. But again, this is just for the special moves. Like, physical moves, those are fine. That makes sense for why they can't be hit. But, yeah, you know, outside of all that bitching I just did, the battles in this game are pretty okay. They're okay, you know? But, you know, there's also the fact that Mega Evolution is back, baby! Oh! We won! Oh, I'm so excited about this. Let's talk about the Megas. Come on. Yeah. I know. I already mentioned the Megas when I was in my little negative bitching segment about the Mega Rogue battles, but shut the hell up. The Megas are such a cool gimmick. I love these so much. Just let me gush about these for a bit. And speaking of which, I'm going to do a little lightning round. I'm not going to cover every new Mega, but I'm going to give my thoughts over a pretty decent handful of them. So, yeah. Mega review time. Let's go, baby. Mega Starmie. This mofo moves like a Smiling Friends background character, and because of that, I can excuse the blatantly lazy design, and this bastard has so much meme potential that it might be one of the greatest just because of that. Mega Scrafty. Hoodie. It wears hoodie. I like this one for obvious reasons. Mega Pyroar, where creative design goes to die. Mega Clefable. It's cool that it can fly now, but honestly, that thing on its head looks like the poo that a Raleigh pokes with a stick, so, yeah, pretty stupid-ass design if you ask me. Mega Victory Bell. I'm gonna be honest, I thought this was a stupid-looking bastard right here, but then I caught an Alpha Bellsprout, raised it to Victory Bell, and my Alpha Mega Victory Bell absolutely swept the late game, so, yeah, 10 out of 10. Completely not biased, I swear. Mega Phalanx. This is the greatest creation Arceus ever made. No notes. Moving on. Mega Scolipede, Electros, and Chandelure. All three of these are awesome and look totally badass, and I'm so happy that Gen 5 is finally getting some real love in the Mega Evolution department since... I mean, I don't necessarily hate Mega Audino, but... Come on, are you telling me out of every Gen 5 Pokemon to get a Mega, and to be the only one, you chose Audino? Like... What are we doing here, guys? Come on. The starters! Mega Meganium and Feraligatr suck so much ass it's not even funny, but Emboar actually looks pretty badass. And before any of you get mad, I picked Totodile. How the hell do you think I feel? Frostlass. This looks like a rejected Gigantamax form, but don't let that sound like it's a negative. I actually really like this design, so, yeah. Good Mega. Moving on. There's still plenty of other ones I didn't go over, like Malamar and Drampa, and all of them are at least pretty decent. I have seen some discourse about the Mega that you get from the 15 battles and that it's a bit of a dumb design. I'm not going to spoil it since technically that's post-game spoiler stuff, but there is also one other Mega I can't spoil, but let's be real, those people that post videos as soon as the game is out, putting them in the thumbnail with no disregard for spoilers. You probably already saw them, but I'm not going to talk about them. If you know, you know. Now, just before we wrap things up, I also want to do a little talk about Mega Dimensions, which I'm cautiously optimistic for. You know, it looks decent, and, you know, we've all seen the leaks, let's be real. The returning Megas that aren't in ZA, like the Hoenn starters, that's pretty cool. And then there's also stuff like the leaked new Megas, which... You know, no Mega Mimikyu, but I'll manage. I'm not really sure I understand why Raichu needed to get the 2 Mega treatment, but if you like Mega Raichu X and Y, more power to you. The main thing I want to talk about is people seeming to be bitching and moaning about the fact that they released a DLC announcement before the game was even out, and I don't really know how to feel about this, because on one hand, like, yes, the game isn't even out, but at the same time, so many other games do this, and guys, come on, we gotta be better than this, because Breath of the Wild did this exact same shit before it launched, and the internet is still sucking that game off to this day. I just think it's a bit hypocritical to give Pokemon all this shit when Breath of the Wild did the exact same thing. Whew, this isn't gonna get me slaughtered on social media at all. But, yeah, that about wraps up my thoughts on Pokemon Legends ZA. And again, there's some good stuff in here. I'd say the game is decent at best, but I'm sorry. Outside of the return of Mega Evolution, I spent a majority of my gameplay thinking, wow, I really wish I was playing Arceus right now. But don't let that dissuade you from checking this game out. I'm just a bozo on the internet with 15 subscribers at the time of making this video. I have absolutely no influence over your ability to decide if you want to pick this game up. If you look at this game and you think, yeah, you know what, I'll give it a shot, do it. Go to GameStop, buy the game, pay your $60 or $70, and then if you hate it, you can trade it back in and get your $10. Yep, that's the state we live in. But yeah, I guess I'll wrap things up here, and I'm already probably hard at work at the next video, so I'll see you guys there. See ya! Wait, what? What the hell do you mean I have to... 1,000 battles for the shiny charm? Are you freaking kidding me? But that's so... What the fuck? Hey, I just realized I forgot to put this somewhere else in the video. I gotta do the like and subscribe thingy, please. Boost me. I want more people to see my stupid shit. Also, recommend me some games, please. I've only gotten one comment so far asking about recommending other games, and I actually am working on one of them. But, yeah, do the like and subscribe, leave a comment thingy. I want to hear what you guys want to see me cover. Okay, bye-bye for real this time.